Hey, look, we're missing Seth right now. We just had him last week, but welcome to Christian Men Unscripted. I'm John Harney. I'm here with Alan Underwood and a dear friend of ours today, Daryl McDonald from Behind the Blue.
Also introduce his partner.
I have Jimmy.
And where's Jimmy, dude?
Jim, right here. Up.
Let's see Jimmy, man, if he'll come up. Look at his head, his head will kind of pop
He's
up.
on there. We'll have him. He's on there.
Well, maybe he'll show up eventually, but he's here with his dog, Jimmy. And Daryl, we specifically ended up talking to you about a few things because we end up on this podcast. Seth, who isn't here, was not a first responder, wasn't a cop or anything, so he kind of brings a different perspective. Unfortunately, he's not here because I like his perspective when we bring like cops and stuff on. But we specifically kind of wanted to bring you on to talk about some of these issues that cops and their families face, and that there's chaos and there's all this other stuff, and then guys internalize problems and life just isn't perfect, man. And we're all believers in Jesus on this podcast. We are, and I know that you are personally. And so we kind of wanted to bring you on because you actually professionally address a lot of this type of stuff that we talk about, like kind of the frailties and the depression and the issues and suicide and sadness and blah, 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 blah. Would you explain kind of what is Behind the Blue and just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. Behind the Blue is a nonprofit organization that deals with catastrophic incidents. So anytime anybody gets hurt or they have a family emergency that's catastrophic, life-changing, altering, first responders here in Southern Nevada, mainly law enforcement, we take charge and do fundraisers. We look out and see how we can help them. So anything we can do to reallocate funds or reallocate some things they might need. We've gone as far as cleaning houses, doing meal trains, stuff like that to help our employees. And it's not just officers, it's our employees and law enforcement. Yeah. We've been really focused on that. And you see a spike in cancer, heart disease, stuff like that where it actually alters the family. And we see and we deal with not only them but their immediate family, wife, kids, and so we deal with that. And that's one of the things we focus on.
Dude, I got to share because very recently in the last several weeks, and I won't name him, but a dear friend of ours, Alan, and all of us know a friend whose wife was tragically killed just very suddenly. Yep. And it's like we talk about these things like life altering. That's a good way to, obviously that's the right way of putting it because it changes everything. It's a door slammed shut on a future someone thought that they had with a spouse or if a disease happens or something. And so I shared with you because I actually met with that friend and I was blessed enough to be able to pray with him and spend time with him like the day after and then service time. And I did share with you, bro, that I talked to him on the phone, that friend of ours, and he did not know that I knew you and brought that up. Like, this guy Daryl and this Behind the Blue, dude, like they did so much. And I didn't have to interject and tell him, hey, I know him. Obviously, I just let him talk. It was so wonderful. And the first thing I did was call you right after. Because it matters, dude. Because he was literally like, this guy, he came through and they helped with arrangements and getting, literally the logistics of even just, unfortunately, getting a body back from another state kind of stuff.
Right.
But the way you guys go out of your way is pretty fantastic, man.
Yeah, we do. We try to do our best we can. And I think it first starts with, you have to have that compassion factor, right? You have to have that part where
most cops lack.
A lot of cops lack compassion.
Well, that's just because we become cynical. Let's be honest. Guys become cynical because it's hard.
You start coming jaded, and you start thinking of evil, and you start thinking of everything's bad.
Yeah.
But you have to know the real reason. On my end, my personal reason, the reason I became a cop is because of our Lord Jesus, and that's the only reason I became a cop.
Really?
I prayed about it, and I didn't want to be a cop. I had bad experiences in my life. I grew up on the streets with my mom, and she was a very addicted person to drugs, and she done stuff on the streets to make ends meet to live. So I hated the cops, to be honest. And my wife signed me up to become a police officer. So that's kind of how that rolled. And so I read Romans 13, and that's what changed my perspective because she saw something in me that I didn't see.
Kudos to Lisa.
Yeah,
love that girl.
Yeah,
good job.
Because she saw that compassion I had, the love, the servanthood that we need to be as Christ followers, right? We need to be that servant, and I don't look at people and look at them and what they've done, but look at them as far as their, what they're going through, a trial in their life. Yeah. And so, with Behind the Blue, that's kind of the mainstream of it is. We want to know how we can help and get to that root of how we can help them and what's alleviate some of their pain sometimes the best thing to do is not to talk, just to be there.
Yeah.
Listen.
And one of those things is you look to see what they need. And sometimes at that point of grief, you don't know what you need.
No, exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, it's literally the conversation I had with our friend recently, because this is recent, what I'm talking about, where he bragged you up big time in this massive, massive tragedy, life-altering tragedy. And that was literally in the conversation, right? Like, I don't know. I really can't say much. I don't know what I can do for you. I don't even know if you would know what you would need, and that's literally the answer. I don't. The answer from his side was exactly that. I don't know. I just don't know, right? Yeah. Because it's hard, dude. And so you guys are trying to fill that void.
Yeah, we do that, and we do a good job because we know what's coming next. We know how afterlife stuff works, and especially with Behind Blue, as we can step up, we know maybe what's going to be coming up and how much things are going to cost, funeral arrangements, and what's going on. So we can predict that. We can figure out, okay, well, you might need a fundraiser going. We're going to do a fundraiser for you. We need to get one of some services, afterlife services arranged, or help out with death certificates or something on those lines where you never think about those things. Not at that moment, Yeah. And so we really focus heavily on that as far as helping everybody out as family. Especially they didn't think, for instance, on that one you're talking about, we provided a big, huge meal, like a charcuterie style, meal thing for them. And I didn't expect, I was thinking so many people, but then I thought, it's an Italian family. They're very well known. So I'm like, okay, we're going to spend a little extra on this and make it really nice. So you kind of have to think about that, because that's something eliminated off their plate. I don't have to worry about that. Who am I going to call? Sure. What are we going to do? Stuff like that. Just those are little things that we can do to help, So it works out pretty good.
I think
it
that's
really
great,
does.
man.
I got a question. When it comes to law enforcement, because John and I have been retired for a while because we're older, do you help with the retired law enforcement as well? Would that be something, like if something happened in my family, would that be something I could reach out to you and be like, hey, or is it only commissioned as you're right now?
Yeah, right now as our bylaws are stated, because we just started less than 6 years ago, as our bylaws state, and is active.
Okay.
So active employees as it is.
Which is they probably need it more than us, but I was talking to you, I met you at John's wife's birthday, and I was talking to you before I left, and I was like, man, that is awesome. That's why I wanted to get you on, because I remember when being in law enforcement, I didn't think nothing of that stuff. I didn't think about getting help, and I didn't think about nobody wanted to talk to them, and I would never call somebody because I felt like it was like, what's the word I'm looking for? Taboo to reach out to somebody if you needed something, especially as a man in law enforcement. Well, I feel, and let me know if you think that, because you work in it, do you see it changing now where people are reaching out more to get help through your organization or just the department in general?
100%. I see that change. And I think that Behind the Blue, when I look at it, when I say Behind the Blue is a great funder for the department as far as mental health and wellness. They do a lot of funding for the Wellness Bureau, and also for LVMPD's Wellness Bureau, and also anybody that school district, Henderson, or any of those people that they do need assistance on classes. Yeah. We help pay for classes that are multi-jurisdictional that we use. So that's how Beyond Blue can help with those trainings for other peer support or clinicians. So we actually go back there and we actually help fund that stuff, because the biggest thing is funding in all things. And so with that little extra thing that we can do to get either a grant, or if we can get some private donors that donate to something like a class like Resilient Minds or PCIS or some type of a training for our clinicians, or for peer support, it gives them that tool in their toolbox that they could pull out to help help our employees. Right. A great example Behind the Blue is the one that holds the funds for Jimmy Here the dog. Yeah. So if you look at a wellness dog, a facility dog, this dog wasn't cheap, and he takes a lot of training. But what it is, he's that tool that breaks the ice for somebody to open up to a peer support officer, or to help open up, to break that ice, to say, I am broken, I need some help. Yeah. And I can guide them in the right direction to, hey, you need to talk to a clinician. Hey, you might need this resources. Or, heck, you might need to do IOP, intensive outpatient program. Yeah. We don't know where they're at. I don't know where people are at in their life, but we want to give them that help. And we've been seeing a lot more people open up. Just statistically, as you look at Metro statistics, of last year we had no suicides. Well, good thing that we had no suicide, but our highest intake level was up higher than we have ever had before. Yeah. So that shows a good that shows a good number, right?
Absolutely.
Because it shows that people are reaching out to get the help, so we can give them the help. So
that's right.
Instead of ending their life.
That's right.
Because the pain was so bad.
It's funny that Alan brought that up too, because during our career, by the way, they tried, right? Everyone always tries, like, what's going to work for counseling. Like PEEP, it used to be called PEEP. It's not that anymore. It's wellness now.
It's called Wellness Bureau.
For the local police department here.
Yes. Yeah. And it's called peer support. They call it peer support now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there were great people. I really do remember that. There were great people there. But no kidding. I don't know that I ever knew anyone who actually sought help. And I know there were, and I know they went out of their way to come and meet people. But for the most part, most of us were sort of like, I wouldn't do that even if I... And I'll be honest, I was suicidal a couple different times. And I was like, it didn't even dawn on me to like mess with those people. I don't, does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it seems like the culture has sure changed for the positive, for the better.
100% it has. And I think it really starts from the top up too. Sheriff McMahill's a big advocate on wellness. Mm-hmm. He's the one that pushed it out, and that was his mission, to start a wellness bureau. He's done a fabulous job doing this. And with that mission starting from the top, it's rolling downhill, and people are putting more trust in it because they're seeing results.
Yeah,
they're seeing that there's a wellness bureau with clinicians, and people are going to clinicians. Our clinicians over at LVMPD, the clinicians see over 400 people, meaning employees, a month.
Like technically a client or a patient.
Yeah,
it's an employee, but
it's an
to
employee,
the clinician,
but
that would be like
for us.
Yeah,
so you think about 400 in a month. That's a lot.
That's amazing.
When you're talking about maybe a 6,000 employee, 6,800 employee.
It's a tough job, dude. I don't care what anybody says. I know, believe me, Alan and I were just talking about this. Look, I'm the pastor of a church, as you know now. I was post-retirement from Metro. And I very recently had a person after church come up, and I don't ever... I very rarely talk about my former career. My identity is not in that anyways. But it's funny because I'll have someone come up and say, oh, you're a cop or whatever, cop. And they want to give me some bad story about some terrible cop that did something either wrong or was a jerk. Probably they were in the wrong anyways. I know we're all cynical about that stuff. But it's like this hard thing because that job is so difficult. And we always talk politics. And I mean for the dispatchers, not just the street cops or whatever, but for the dispatchers. Like we have ER workers and anything first responder, tip of the spear, public. You know what I mean?
You
it's
just see
stressful.
so much.
Even the administration of it is
and
stressful.
have to put up with so much.
Even the office job of it is stressful, right? Because it matters, so the pressure is high. It matters. And so that's amazing that you guys are doing that, trying to actually reach out to every level of employee, right?
Right. And we do. We look at every point of everybody, their employee. Each one of them have a different stressor. Each one of them have a different trauma.
Yep.
And that's the unique part about it, because I can't do a dispatcher job, and dispatcher can't do my job.
Right.
And that's what's cool about it. God gives you gifts. God gives you talents. Mm-hmm. Utilize them.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. And I'm glad there's people in those sections.
Yep.
Because my cousin is SWAT. I can't do a SWAT job.
Yeah.
It's totally different. But he's perfect for that job.
Right.
So that's what's neat about being that I have to know a little bit about everything. But when I come down to it, I look at who you are, and I look at they're God's child, and we need to make sure that they get the help. And so that's what I do. You know what I mean? And so I don't care if you're a dispatcher, CSI, patrol, a correction officer, or whatever. We look at what you need. How can I help you in this time of your need? And that's where we look at. And it, it's, from that point, they just look at that too. They don't care where I came from or my background. They don't care about that. They just open up. And we've seen great results from it.
Yeah.
We really have.
And I think that's great, because as a law enforcement officer, I know a lot of law enforcement. I mean, we do this career for so long. You get to a retirement age, and then you just die. I've seen it. I mean, I've literally seen my friend after 3 years of retirement die, just from cancer. It's like it's not fair. It's like it'll eat at you. And he drank his whole career, not his whole career. He was a recovering alcoholic, but that was part of his thing. Was, hey, I'm a new officer. I'm young. I'm gonna go out and drink with these guys and party and have a good time. And that's because you're stressed because of the job. And eventually you have friends that you reach out to, but most of your friends are doing the same thing. You know. And as a Christian, I wasn't necessarily a Christian when I was on the department. That would have been better for me, to be honest with you. But I think that law enforcement nowadays, especially nowadays in this culture that we have now, there's a different perception that, okay, we need to be a little bit more compassionate.
Yeah, toward
because
the guys doing it, toward the people doing it, maybe.
Yeah,
within the agency.
Yeah, within the agency, we have to be, because that's where I was getting at when I was talking, was like, I might want to talk to somebody, I might have wanted to reach out to you, but then these guys that I work with are like, "What's wrong with you? Were you some kind of weakling or whatever?" So you're like, "Okay, I'm just gonna go home and just drink."
Right.
And then 50 years later, my liver's messed up and I'm dead. So I think that's great, because when I was talking to you, that's what hit me, is like, okay, you're there for people like that. Because I retired at 48 because I didn't want to be 55 and then die at 58. So I've figured I'm pretty healthy. I thought I was.
Walk away while you can.
Walk away while I can and get out of here. And now, and be honest with you, my life is so much better now, that especially with John in my life and working with him and doing this podcast and having Jesus in my life changed everything in how I approach things. But I would have never had that. I never would have sought that out on the department. And I feel like the department, as you were saying, with the sheriff and the wellness, they're really putting that effort into, and to be honest with you, helping people even after they retire to live longer.
Yeah, 100%. I think we look at that strong reality of officers live 21 and a half years less than your average civilian. So when you look at those numbers, that's pretty substantial and scary in a way, because it's that hourglass. You don't know, when you turn upside down, we don't know how much time's going. We have to live in that present time.
Yep.
And it's scary because you don't know how much it is. You know what traumas that you dealt with on the job.
Yeah.
Then when you retire, you don't know what your coping mechanism would be.
Right.
Some people will turn to Christ and turn to the Lord, and that may relief. But some people are going to turn to alcohol or turn to risky behaviors, and then that's going to end. Where are you going to end? Right, your life. I think Sheriff Mayhill, like I said, did an outstanding job, because one of the factors in the Wellness Bureau is retirees. He started a retiree peer support cadre, where we have these retired officers, employees that are there to help other retirees about to come out or about to start to retire, that they will be those mentors for them, and it's, that's one of the things you think about, you're standing on these shoulders of giants in the law enforcement world. You're like, man, you mentor, that dude was my mentor back in the day, and now he's a cadre. So I'm going to trust him over me as a peer support guy that, don't know crap about it, and you're youngster. So that's one of the things that we see, and we've seen a really, seen that area blow up pretty good because of the fact that they're getting classes with the cadre stuff. We teach them classes. They go through training and they do all this stuff. And but it couldn't have been possible, like I said, without like Behind the Blue, for instance. They're the ones that fund a lot of these classes.
Yep.
We pay for the e-tips class. We do all those things. We send the retirees when we're going, or we have like a camp that we pay for. So those are things that, like I said, when we go back to that Behind the Blue aspect, where it kind of fits in, is those are the little things. Those are the little things that can maybe improve or help those little areas of wellness, and that's where it's at. And from that we see great results. I think I can't speak on other agencies as far as what they're doing for retirees, but I know with retirees that the Sheriff McMahon's doing a great job for his troops at LVMPD.
Awesome.
So
yeah, it's interesting, man. I've had an opportunity years ago to sit with him actually. And he shared some of his personal trauma in his life and stuff, with family and everything else. So agree, disagree with politics, decisions. This is one of the really good ones, and it has been really, because I know he has a genuine heart for it. We have listeners, dude, like seriously, we're on multiple platforms, and we have a few in different countries and stuff that'll kind of give us a heads up, like, hey, we're in... We had some guys at ER trauma or fire or whatever, and so they'll appreciate some of the stuff that we'll talk about, and we try to share with them that our identity, everything about everything we have, is in Christ first. But then it is a noble profession to be on the front lines, to be a first responder and stuff. But it really is wearing. We can become cynical. We can become angry. We can become frustrated. As a Christian, I can be also suicidal. Unfortunately, and by the way, there's a lot of biblical evidence for some of the greatest leaders in the Bible who also went to those dark places. What type of advice do you guys have? Like, is there anything within what you are doing now that you can even just encourage people, whether they're coming for help or not, that you could just, like, if you were in front of a briefing room of guys and you don't know who is and isn't hurting, like, how do you share or encourage them to either get help or take care of themselves to make sure that they stay on, like, a path that keeps them mentally and spiritually safe?
That's a tough one, because I think one of the things I think that it comes in that factor of trust. right? And then also faith. And those are two big things that you have to have trust and faith. And if you lack any of that, then you're, it's hard to break that. I try to come out there. When I come there, I really am genuine with people. I care about people. I love people. I care for them. And, you only have several seconds to make or break a conversation. And with me, I don't come out as a hard ass, or I don't come out like that. I come out as kind guy. I really care about what's going on as being a listener. I think with being in a peer support style position and grief stuff is listening more than talking. But talking to somebody, I know that you're saying that there are many different platforms and fire and everything else. One of the things is, don't be afraid to reach out to help, to call a professional or talk to a professional. I think that's a big stigma everybody had, especially in our world because we have clinicians. We have 7 clinicians at Metro. They, that stigma of like, oh, come talk to somebody. A lot of people don't want to talk to anybody. But, if I'm in that ear as a peer, you can talk to me and I can send you to the right direction where you need to go. But that's one of the things is don't be afraid, break that stigma and go talk to somebody, call somebody. They have so many different lines right now. You can call hotline, suicide lines, just a line to talk, first responder lines. There's so many out there. You should even look on a web page and just say, Google search and say, suicide line. They'll give you every one, depending where you're at in this world. There's things out there there's people that care. There's a lot of people that care. And I think being in law enforcement or being in that first responder world, we don't respond to the great things. Mm-hmm. We always respond to negative stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think it jades us and it puts a big blanket over our eyes, and we don't want to reach out. And I say reach out. That's one of the things.
Yeah.
I'll share real fast because I was with a bunch of women at a recovery place last night for a few hours talking on depression, stuff like this, because I go in and out of depression sometimes. I'm either way up here, but then all of a sudden I'm way down here. I'm not very good at being in between, right? And so I'll end up crashing, dude, and being in that dark place. And so then I sat at a table with about 10, 15 ladies and kind of went through my process of getting into the Word of God. Now, I know that you are representing the Wellness Bureau, Behind the Blue, a secular side of things. Though you are a Christian guy, there's a very real God. So you may not within your agency just consistently push Jesus, though that's the truth. So you just have to more represent it sometimes than say it.
And you can see it. I can see it when you talk. I think it's great.
So you just represent it, right?
Yeah.
So from my perspective, I don't have to work there. I want to make sure people just hear the love of Christ constantly, and that there is a God who sees you, who knows you, who loves you. But back to the ladies last night, I kind of learned it myself as I was going through to prepare to talk to them about this, that I was talking about my own depression, my own issues, but I looked at guys like Moses, who in Numbers 11, we see that he was depressed, but then we see God actually say, I'm going to help you carry the load. Go get some elders and some leaders, and they're going to help. I'm going to bring them in to help you. Elijah who brought down fire on Mount Carmel, who prayed and it stopped raining, and then prayed again and rain came. Toward the end of his ministry, he literally was like, God, just kill me. I just want to die. He was depressed after all these amazing things, but what I learned, what I shared is, not only did he go to God, by the way, both of these men and several others in the Bible, they went to God first in prayer. They heard the word of God. God spoke. For us now, we can read the Bible. That's the word of God. But in Elijah's example, one of the first things that Elijah needed was rest. He took a nap. He laid down. Then food. He took care of his body, his physical needs. I thought that was a wonderful, it's a really nice formula, prayer and word of God, and then food and rest and then food. But then the next thing he said, God told him, go get your buddy Elisha. Go get your friend. Go talk to your friend. Let's go talk to your friend. In other words, we have each other. He gave us people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that was kind of my big aha moment when I was sort of sharing. It's all of this prayer and the word of God. And we talked about a last episode, legalism and all. It's not about that real relationship, but he gives us each other and he gives us guys like you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I encourage people to kind of find their tribe, if you will.
And I think as a Christian, it's that iron sharpens iron thing. But I think in law enforcement, it kind of goes the wrong way sometimes when you have iron sharpen iron, when you got two guys who are,
right.
Now we're both just drinking our sorrows away and depressed and being depressed together, as opposed to Christians. Iron sharpens iron. John can call me if he says he's depressed. I'm like, don't be depressed, man.
I shared that about you last, by the way, with the ladies. Real fast personal story. I was sharing with the ladies, and I even got emotional because I said, you know what? Why do I know this formula works? Why do I know God is here for us and has each other for us? Because I was praying, I was studying the Word of God, I was putting together some passages on depression, and there are many times you see David, like, my soul, I'm so depressed, God, right? And I'm going through this, and I shared, but here I am talking about Moses God told him, get your folks. Elijah, get your folks, right? Jesus met the woman at the well. You know her life wasn't great. Meeting her right where she's at. I said, my buddy Alan called me, and I shared this last night, and I kind of broke down, I'm being honest. I don't want to
You gonna break down now?
Yeah, maybe. I'm going to try not to.
Sweet.
So, no, but I said, my buddy Alan, this is just yesterday. I said, he called me, and I was at the gym trying to do some treadmill. I just tried to work out, right, something, because I was depressed. And he said, man, you've been on my heart. And last couple of days, dude, and I've been just praying over you, praying over your church, like you just been on my heart. And I was like, this is 100% what I'm talking about in the Bible, is that God brings folks around us. And so Alan was that person just yesterday, dude. Yeah. Just yesterday, bro. And I was able to share that with the ladies last night because it's a reality, but that's what you guys are trying to do in a secular, calloused, crass, violent. Policing is violence, dude. I don't care what anybody says. It's a violent job. It's a disgusting job sometimes.
It'll change you for sure.
Yeah, it will.
So,
well, you guys are right on the money on everything, right? You need people. I don't think God meant us to be alone. That's why Adam and Eve, and I mean, that's a pretty good example right there from the beginning, right?
The very
start, right?
It's not really good for this man to be alone.
Exactly. So we need people in our lives, right? We need people. And when you talk about iron sharpens iron, I think about our mantra is mind, body, soul, right? And when you have to think about it, you have to be synchronized together. You mentioned, you guys have these guys, and I'm just thinking of a knife, right? And you're honing it. If you have guys that are going to bar all the time, you're honing it one way, that blade's going to be dull. Yeah. You need to go both sides. You have to do it equally, and you have to get it so it's super sharp so you can cut through that. Yeah. One of the things is, we look at that mind, body, soul thing, and you have to think about that. And it's not, your mind could be, messed up from seeing all this trauma and everything else, but what happens, it affects your body. You start to fall apart. You start to fatigue out your cortisol. You have to look at now, besides that, now you have to look at your hormones. You have to look at everything. So when I look at a person, they could say, I've been going to talk therapy for 2 years and now I'm going to a psychiatrist and I'm still not right. Have you checked your hormones?
Yeah.
That might be another, oh my gosh, next thing you know, they check and they're like, I was lacking this and this. I feel so much better because now your body's synchronized, right?
Yeah.
So when you have that, and it's a whole package. You need a whole package, but you can't do it alone.
Right.
That's one thing you cannot do, and that's why I think we have a team of people, and if you need it, we have it. And
dude, I love it.
It's weird as to say, some people turn to that dog. I had somebody turn to the dog, and they were having a conversation. She started crying and said, "Thank you for coming." Oh my gosh. I said nothing, but whatever was fighting inside of her, it helped her.
Yeah. I mean,
crazy.
I like dogs more than people.
I was going to say,
I agree too. Sometimes I'm like,
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting, though? What an amazing gift of God, though, that we can get the greatest potential out of animals. I've had people argue total, by the way, here we go here I go.
Totally off,
No, because to me, it's an apologetic argument for a creator, because I've had people say, well, yeah, but look, Pete, you can teach a gorilla sign language. That's why I can tell you that we're related to animals, and you can teach a dolphin to communicate with a human. That's why I think that it's all about evolution. And no, dude, the Bible actually tells us, we see Adam has dominion over the animals. He is commanded to get the very best out of them. If I can teach a monkey sign language, that's me doing the very best I can. If I can teach a dolphin to do military stuff, that's us using in the most loving and compassionate and awesome way, getting every animal to their greatest potential. It's a gift of God that we get to interact with things like a dog like that, who can now interact with human beings and connect emotionally. That's a gift of God. That's actually biblical. Animals matter to God. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had Noah collect them up 2 by 2 to throw in that boat. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So animals are important to God, and they are important to our relationship with our environment, with the world. I love that you got some lady just thanking the dog.
Yeah, it was so awesome. Cheering up, cool. Too. Like, they had a whole conversation.
That's so great.
It was awesome.
Good old Jimmy.
Good old Jimmy. He's a good dog.
That's actually pretty amazing, man. I love it.
That's cool.
What other thoughts you got? It's interesting because we're kind of sticking to this one topic. I could go down a whole road on how your backgrounds match a little bit.
It's a funny story, which it's kind of off topic, on topic. When I was going to retire, I was like, I'm thinking I'm going to retire, because I was getting to the point where I was like, I'm done with this, because it was affecting my family. It was affecting how I felt, how I treated my family, how I treated my wife. And I remember working on escorting this guy out of the airport. I was working at the airport the last couple of years, and I remember him telling me, you know what? Nobody likes you. You guys are a bunch of racists, and you just kill people. And I remember, and he was a white guy, and I go, well, good thing you're white, because nobody's going to care. And then when I said that, as I said it on body cam, can I get in trouble for it now? I'm retired 4 years.
No.
Okay. But I remember thinking, no, I got to get out of here because that's not me. That's not who I am.
Yeah, it just puts
These are
you
things
over.
that I don't
Yeah.
say to people. And I was like, okay, I got to stop doing that. And I remember a year later, I retired after saying that to somebody.
It bothered you so
It
much.
bothered me that much that I would say something like that. And I was changing. I was like, if I don't get out now and I stay here until I can max out and make the most money possible, which a lot of guys do, which is fine. But me personally, it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes, but I also I was talking to you at the time, I was talking to other people. I had people that I could go to that were Christians, you know. I had my church. I was heavily involved in my church at the time. And I think spiritually speaking, that spiritual fitness is so much, I don't think the department could go that way per se. I mean, people like you are part of it. Just, I can see how, you know, we represent God, but we can't push it out there because the department wouldn't allow something like that, which I understand. School, same with my wife's school. My wife's a Christian at a public school in Las Vegas. You can get in trouble for that. She had that little Jesus thing where I was helping her get ready for school, and she goes, I'm just going to put it in the corner. I'm like, that's terrible that you have to put that in the corner, you know, because people will get mad at you. You know, and I don't know how the department is, and I get it because there's so many different diverse. They allow your religion, obviously, because we had people.
Well,
Jewish,
the
freedom of
headquarters, by the way,
religion,
has like a prayer chapel.
Yeah.
We have a
I
chapel.
know it has all
But
this
as far
different
as, like,
religion stuff in it, but
I'm just curious how that would work as far as spiritual fitness for police officers. Is there something like that out there?
So we have over 20-something chaplains for Metro. And so we turn to them, and you know, a lot of times they go and pray with people. They go and
that's awesome.
Matter of fact, I know one lady that she talks to. She probably does better peer support job than I do. She like always is on it.
Yeah.
And that's cool because they pray and they, you know, and it's awesome.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
We do have a chaplain.
I used to have Mindy. I don't know if he's still there. He was a rabbi.
Yeah, Mindy, Rabbi.
He would ride with me all the time. He was like, "Oh, Alan," and he was the best because we had so much fun. He was a great rabbi. I liked him.
And you know, that's a good point you brought up. Hey, Rabbi, we have all different faiths,
Right?
Yeah.
Too. So if it's somebody that is, you know, a
Yeah.
Jewish faith, they can
Go
ride
to
with Mindy.
Yep.
Or you know, we
Yeah.
have Christians, a different faith,
Yep.
Christianity. We have LDS on our board. So we have a broad
Okay, that's
spectrum
great.
of people now. And
Yeah.
so when, you know, on my end, if they open a door, it's done. I'm there. You know what I mean?
That's
It's
perfect.
perfect.
Yeah.
They have to open a door if I hear that, or if I,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'll start going.
My
that
wife
direction.
does that as well.
Yeah, and I'll go that direction.
To
you
share
know.
the gospel, to
and I'm
share
not.
truth,
I'm
yeah.
not. You know, I have a thing right on my desk that's, you know, it says prayer is the world's greatest connection,
Yeah.
wireless connection. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right. So they can read that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have crosses and everything else.
Sure.
So if people do, I'm opening up and I'll tell them my story and I'll tell them how, you know, this is God put me here and I didn't come here to become a police officer.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because that's what I was kind of getting at. The department is definitely not opposed to that. It's just that there's so many different religions as far as people in the department that you just can't be like, hey, we're a Christian department. You
They
know,
have to be kind of
Right.
quote unquote
Quote-
accommodating, right?
Yeah.
accommodating. Well, and then, like I said, Rabbi Mindy, I enjoyed riding with him every time
Yeah.
he came. I was like, yeah, you can come with me. We have fun.
Yeah.
He was just a great guy. So
Yeah.
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 Oh, I love it, man. Okay, so what else on that kind of stuff, man? What else you guys got
I
going
heard
on?
my dogs.
Yeah, hearing dogs, hearing my dog bark,
Yeah.
growling.
He's growling.
That's one of the things that our chaplain program is probably the biggest in the country.
Oh, wow.
That's what's really cool.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they have to do is they have to ride along and they have to go to every area command. Every area command has at least 2 chaplains. And so they do ride-alongs.
Yep.
And they have to put in so many hours. So our department does a really good job with faith
Yep.
to really push it in without overly pressing.
Yeah.
And they have certain things like when they pray or they do open prayers, they have to stay within certain guidelines that are quote with government,
Yeah.
standards of diversity and
Okay.
everything else.
That might be a whole episode in and of itself.
Yeah, you
that
can
we
definitely
go
go
off
on that.
that one. But yeah,
Yeah, you can definitely go on off that one, but
Yeah.
but I think the
We'll leave
big factor where we look at is faith. You have to have some type of faith.
Yeah.
And I think when we push that, being officers, as knowing being officers, we have to put faith in everything we do. When we're pulling our gun out and somebody's I better put faith that this thing, if I pull the trigger, it's going to shoot a bullet out,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
I need to have faith.
Yeah.
And that's faith.
Right?
you know?
Yeah.
And those are things that, and every call we go on is God, me as a believer is God's protecting you or God's watching you or there's some content, there's a reason for you being there at that moment.
Yeah.
And you don't know what it is, but that's where everything kicks in, training and your faith and your words you speak, and sometimes there's words I don't even know what to say, and I'm like, Lord, tell me the words to say right now, because I don't know what to say.
Definitely.
All the time. Happens all the time. Yep.
Man, we so appreciate you and what you're doing, dude. It's funny, my future son-in-law was just issued. He's in the academy at Sacramento PD right now, and it's one of those things, right? You're proud, but you're also like, oh, I don't want my daughter to go through the life that my wife went through, that my mom went through, whatever, right? Our family, all law enforcement, and it's hard, and especially now, and especially in Northern California. But they got issued guns yesterday, right? He's going through the academy so many weeks in. You kind of said it. You have to have faith a bullet comes out or whatever. What happens is people are like, oh, cop this, cop that. I have people joke with me who I love, right? They come from a totally different background, and they kind of make fun of cops. Cops are jerks. Cops are this. Dude, they're issued a gun for a reason, because they are literally commissioned to be able to commit violence on behalf of the rest of the citizens. They have to be willing to step in between violence, put themselves in harm's way to help other people, to stop chaos, to bring calm to chaos. And people will call them to a scene and then turn on them the moment they bring the calm. Like domestic violence is the greatest, easiest example, right? The wife is calling, or the kids are calling, dad's beating mom up, beating her up in the kitchen. You get in there. As soon as you go hands on him, she instinctively comes at you, right? Our buddy Kyle Hershey got took a cutting board to the face or whatever, and literally has like a steel-plated face from that. Yes. But the point is, it's like, that's one call of a dozen or more in a day, where even if they call you, they still turn on you. Just people, violence looks terrible. Violence is scary. That whole sheepdog versus the wolf thing, it's like they're a little bit afraid of the sheepdog because he still has teeth. Jimmy is the cutest dog ever, but he still has teeth.
I just heard him growl.
Yeah, exactly. But so it's the same in policing. So what happens is there's this kind of uncomfortable or uneasiness, even with good cops. Everybody loves firefighters because they're just going to put the fire out and get the cat out of the tree, right? I'm being mean, but a cop might show up, and he might be there because the family is having a problem with your drunk uncle, and your drunk uncle might pull a knife or something and get killed. Like, it's violence sometimes just happens, and it's ugly. But then guys do this over and over and over and over, and people spit on them and this. So then all of a sudden they become jaded. They think everyone is bad. Everything is bad. They themselves have so much pressure, the political pressure, the bosses are mean to them, and they go into these crazy, dark, funky spots. And then that's what you guys are trying to address. And I think that might change over time, that guys won't become so calloused over time. I hope. Yeah.
That's so true. When you look at that, I'm also an artist too, so I don't know if you knew that. But
no, I'm excited to hear this, Daryl.
But I built a piece out of bullets, handcuffs, and it spelled out love. Wow. And somebody came up to me at an art. I was at a displaying it, and people are looking at it, and they go, "How is that love? How is bullets love?"
Honestly, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so how
do you... But you have to realize why you build it. It is love, because guess what? I'm de-escalating a situation you couldn't get out of, and I might have to use my gun to stop that.
Right.
Because I love you, and I don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
And when you think of that, I mean, you put it in perspective of that, because I have love to do that to stop chaos. Look at October 1.
Yeah.
That was, if our officers didn't get up there in 8 minutes and everything else.
Yeah, breach a door,
walk
down a hallway.
There, that's love, right?
I was on that scene for days, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of bullets.
That whole hallway up there, that dude was shooting out of that door. There were like dozens and dozens of bullet holes in the hallway, which those cops literally threw that caution to the wind on that, even on that. And that is a fatal funnel. And we're able, guys like Levi and Dave.
And we have to have our guns out. We have to have that deadly force out there, right? So I said that's how it is. It's that love, right? So when you look at those things, it's just like, it's a de-escalation tool, right? Yeah. But it's a violent tool. It can take a life.
No, and it's exactly right. And that's I guess my.
But it's who you are that's using it, right?
Yeah.
Who are you as a person?
Yeah.
Am I a person going to do 1 October where I go and kill people? I don't care. I'm just killing people. Or are you one that's going to go protect the ones that are getting killed?
You don't wake up that day as a cop and say, I'm looking to kill a guy today. No, dude, somebody is taking action against other people, and you have to actually commit violence that you may not want to have to. You have to suck up some courage and get it done. I just found it kind of profound. He got issued a gun, right? So it makes it more real. A couple weeks into it, all of a sudden they issue a gun. Like, oh, wait, this isn't just doing jumping jacks, running around, getting yelled at a little bit, and we all get to put on a police outfit and a badge. This is like real. This is a real tool that has real consequences.
And it does not only the consequences for physical damage, mental damage as well.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many people I've been at OISs where now I have to treat them for PTSD or treat them for trauma, stuff like that where, we have to deal with their brain. and how are we going to deal with it? So, luckily we have all the things intact that help out and help, get them through that path, because those can be really hard for people. Yeah.
Yeah, and then going back to what you said about the where we were talking about 99.9% of police officers go out there to do the right thing, and then a lot of times they bring it home, or they off duty, they take it with them. But like you said, they don't hear enough of "good job, we appreciate you, thank you for this, thank you for that," especially in the world today. I think when we first came on, we heard it a lot more. I remember in 90.
Well, then 9/11 happened a few years on, right? And
that then you started seeing the news, and news started turning against all police officers because of something one officer did, or one officer in this country. I remember somebody yelling at me for something that happened in Minnesota. I'm like, dude, I'm not a cop in Minnesota. I'm like, and I'm getting, you don't see it enough, and you don't hear it enough from people that, hey, you guys are doing a great job. We know because we do it. We worked with them, and 99% of the people I worked with were great. And trust me, I worked with some guys. I'm like, this guy's a jerk. I'm going to stay away from him. Yeah. But 99% of the cops I worked with were great, and I would do anything for them. I might not be in contact with them now, but if they called me, I would help them out in a heartbeat. And I think police officers just don't hear that, whether it's LVMPD, anyone around the country or the world, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they get enough of that thanks and stuff like that. And home life is a big one. I mean, I can go on a whole, probably 2 of these podcast things about home life and living a home life and spousal stuff, and how this job can drain you and go down the wrong hole, from shift adjusting to call outs to overtime,
just
to
everything,
work stressors and your extreme highs of cortisol, coming home to have depression, and I mean, we can go on that end, and
it's a whole nother podcast. We can go hours.
Yeah, you can definitely go hours in that. But what's good about it is we have some very gifted clinicians that are on target, and they bring in the spouse. That's another thing too, is the spouses are welcome to come to these clinics. They do counseling for spouses, which is good, because it shows the reality of like what policing's about. What is this stuff? We have books, we have stuff that we give out to our employees to read, and they can read together, workshops, stuff like that to help. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
Dude, I think, Daryl, we need to have you back on. Would you share how, if there was a listener that maybe wanted to donate to a worthwhile cause, how could they get a hold of you guys, or where do they find you?
Yeah, just at behindtheblue.org. That's our website, and you can see all the
spelled out, behindtheblue.org.
That's it, one thing, and then you can look on there. You can see like what we're doing. We have a lot of little sections. We have Jimmy's on there. He's up there, but we have a lot of our some employees that have had some catastrophic stuff in their life that's had, and you see their fundraiser, and you can read about what we do, and just and then just different sections. I know we have we help out with here he is. There's Jimmy.
There he is.
Hey, little buddy.
He's on there.
There you go. And, but we have a lot of things. Yeah. So if they love to donate, there's a link on there. You can donate and stuff like that.
Okay, and now not about just giving to you guys. What if we've got, because we have a few officers that probably listen to this in town. Any encouragement or anything? How would they get a hold of you guys? Or there's a phone number on there, and also email. So please shoot us an email, and then we'll reach out, or text. That's a cell phone number on there. So text and say, hey, heard you on a podcast. Love to touch base with you. I'll be more willing to, especially if you're starting up like a wellness bureau or some kind of thing at your own in your state or wherever you're at. Yeah, I'd love to reach out. There's so many people that we talk to that come around the country, coming to our wellness bureau to look at it and see how it's running, how it's functioning, and or even talking about how to start a wellness dog, a facility dog. Please reach out.
Awesome.
Always available.
Dude, I love it, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so glad you came on.
Glad you guys are doing this.
Yeah, have so much fun. Jimmy, you were awesome. Good job, Jimmy.
Good job. You're on camera now. He's on there. He looks good.
Good job, little buddy. All right, man. Appreciate you. Everybody, be blessed. Be blessed, you guys. Thank you.
What's up, buddy?
Every